Good morning. This is Bill. I got an all-day project that I'm going to do today. I want to make a big, huge pot of chili. I got my extremely huge pot out because it might not be big enough, but this should be a good start. I love chili. I like it a little hot, so I'm going to show you my take on it. And I'm also going to tell you straight up that I know, maybe I'm wrong, I put kidney beans in mine. I like beans. I like to serve my chili on 1,000 different ways. It can be a bowl of chili, you can put it on a baked potato, you can put it on spaghetti, you can put it on french fries for all I care. And of course I use it to make chili dogs, which I have a video of to show you. Either way you slice it, you gotta have some good chili. So the first thing I did was I cooked about 3.5 pounds of ground beef in, like in 2 batches in a frying pan, and then I took a slotted spoon and I dumped it in my pot. I didn't have to cook it all the way through. I just wanted to release some of the grease because I wanted to get the grease out of the ground beef. Yes, you can make chili with other kind of meats. You can use cube meat for chili, whatever you want. I'm just trying to show you a really easy recipe. I will tell you straight up though, I don't use ground beef from the grocery store. I go to my friends at Wassi's. You know, having a butcher is a great thing, because they had a lot of end meats and other things when they make packaged ground beef. If you're really desperate, you can always go to your grocery store, pick up a couple steaks that look good and ask them if they'll grind it. I'm sure they'll do it at no charge for you. Because we want good beef. This is ground beef. I'm not trying to get low fat because I want flavor. That's the thing to remember. So this is got a lot of different kind of cuts in it. So you get good flavor and consistency. So I've got it still crackling here, and it's going to kind of finish cooking. And of course it's going to stew for a long time, so I know that I'm not worried about the internal temperature of the meat getting up high enough, because like I said, this is going to cook a long time, and I already cooked it in a frying pan. So the first thing I want to do, we need to start cooking some of our veggies. So I'm going to turn it up, get it rolling up here, a nice sizzle. These look like huge quantities, but you got to remember I've got 3.5 pounds of ground beef in here. So I got 4 onions that I diced up. There should be enough reserved grease for me spooning it out from the meat to cook in here. If you really were careful and didn't have any leftover grease, you could certainly throw a little olive oil in. I never seem to have that problem. Then I took 2 large red peppers. You can use yellow, purple, I don't care, and if you like green you can use those too. And I don't have to cut them up real small because they're going to cook a long time. Let's start getting things moving around here. So there are a couple different stages when you cook chili, and that's really what I want to show you. You can kind of add or delete as you want, but you need to cook the meat, then you need to cook your veggies, then you got to start kind of the stock of it, and then the last phase, then you season it. And then the last phase I do is the beans and the thickening. So, like I said, this is going to be in the stove for a long time. Okay, so I've just got this stuff mixed together. Start to cook down here. So I'll keep going. I got about 6 jalapenos I sliced. If you're afraid of all the heat, You can cut them in half and cut out the veins, but I don't really find that to be a problem when these cook all day. Yeah, I might not scrape all the seeds in there because that's the other hot part that you don't need. Things are cooking kind of fast now, so just want to keep stirring this around. Smelling good. I really don't like pickled jalapenos, but if you have to, I'm sure you could try that. I know I've lived in some pretty far out places where fresh produce wasn't easily accessible. Things like jalapenos might be just about impossible to find. Last but not least, I got a bunch of garlic. There's probably 8 cloves in here. Once again, I smushed it and kind of give it a quick chop. The more you cut the garlic, the more you're going to squeeze out the oil from it and the flavor. So I really didn't want to mince it fine. These are a little heavier chunks, but once again, after hours on the stove, it's not going to be an issue. Take garlic down there so it can start. Good. I'm not really trying to soften anything, I'm just trying to get things to mix together at this point. So I'm going to give this a minute just to kind of sit here and kind of explain about it. So, like I said, everything's going to cook down a whole lot. Everything's going to break down. It's kind of like spaghetti sauce, but it's different in the fact that you're going to cook it all day, so you are going to get much smaller pieces of everything because they are just going to cook until they kind of fall apart. So at this point, I want to make sure it's good and hot. I want to really get some flavor in here. So believe it or not, this is where I would put a couple cans of beer in. I went to the grocery store and they had Foster oil cans on sale. So I said, well, that's about the same as 2 cans of beer. And lagers are really good for this kind of stuff. Make sure you're nice and hot. Put a little beer on the stove. So it won't take long for this to kind of, the properties of the beer are going to break down the veggies, the beef, get some good flavor. We just want it long enough to cook the alcohol out. And it doesn't have to cover everything. It's just, in here it's just about covered. But we just need enough volume so as we stir it around. Keep that heat up. And you can never go wrong with beer. I would probably use, if you want a little more flavor, I've used Sam Adams before. Dos Equis Amber will certainly work. You can go even more intense with some winter lagers. A little sweeter with some of your Oktoberfest. In fact, I think I made it once with Guinness. I love to drink Guinness, let me preface that. But I think I've actually made it with Guinness before, and the results turned out pretty darn good. Gives a lot of depth to it. We're going to get that same depth in a different way though, because I don't want to waste Guinness in my chili. Alright, so everything's boiling up here real well. Everything's going to cook. Nice high heat. We've just about destructed the alcohol out of here. So the next stage of the game is we want this to probably cook for 5 minutes. I've had this on pretty high heat, so I'm at a couple minutes, but it's boiling the heck out of it in here. So you got to have that red base. So what I usually use is 4 of the big cans of any kind of crushed tomatoes, diced, whatever you want. It doesn't really matter because once again it's going to cook for a long time. But I went to my big box store, a restaurant supply place, and I got a big huge can. This is equivalent to 4 big cans of diced tomatoes. And don't try this at home, I've done this a few times before. And we just want to scrape out. Something I've learned in cooking is that I always keep an extra spare can, not necessarily this big, because I don't really have room in my pantry for stuff this big, but another can. So if I was cooking, I'm like, I need more liquid. You know, you can certainly add beer, but if you need more tomato, chances are you could add just one of those regular big cans. In. Already looking good. So now we need to get this to start to cook, and then what we want to do, the next stage will be getting it seasoned. So for right now, I'm going to say for the next hour, maybe hour and a half, I want this to simmer with the lid on. Get it up to a good boil, get it simmering, and turn it down. I'm already getting a lot of boiling in here, so just be careful for the next couple minutes that you get this thing rolling. And then, like I said, it's probably going to be about an hour. We'll come back and we're going to figure out how to season it. So we'll see you in a minute, or an hour, whatever. What a difference an hour makes. Actually, it's been a little more than an hour. This looks really good. Everything's cooked down nicely. But we're not done yet. Not a whole lot of flavor in here, and the natural flavors. So we want to use some things that kind of extract all this wonderful flavor. Don't want to overdo it, you know, but got to remember there's like 8 quarts of chili here, so these numbers might seem a little disturbing to you. So I always want to extract flavors, a little sweetener, and I don't like using sugar. I use honey in this case. I know when I make spaghetti sauce, I said I use carrots, sweetness in carrots, but we can go a little crazier with the chili. So I'm just going to put 3 tablespoons of honey in here. I'm going to dash a couple tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. It's about 3 tablespoons. And of course, my favorite, Frank's hot sauce. Any kind of, you know, can based. I want to go 1, 2, tablespoons. So mix that a little bit. Turn down the heat a little bit because I didn't want the heat to steam up all my dry ingredients I'm about to put in here. Alright, tell there's a difference. So then, this is the crazy thing. So I have a tablespoon of crushed red peppers, a tablespoon of cumin, a tablespoon of smoked paprika, and a tablespoon of cayenne pepper, cumin, smoked paprika, and crushed red peppers. Tablespoon of each. That tossed in there. And I have a couple tablespoons of cocoa powder. This is just, your regular cocoa powder. That's going to give a lot of depth. This is not sweet by any means, so I can't use this as the sweetener. This stuff is bitter tart, but it's going to bring a lot of flavor to the table, and it's really going to change the dynamics. Ooh yeah. There we go. This is going to cook for a while, so I'm not too worried about someone biting into a lump of spices, but I do want to make sure it gets mixed in. Totally change the color. This is really, really nice. It's going to take a while for all that to kind of grow in depth in there. Oh wait, this is chili. So guess what? You have to use chili powder. Now I know this is just sound crazy once again, but you can actually use up to like a quarter of a cup. I'm going to start with 3 tablespoons just to see what it's going to be like. These are kind of rounded, so it's probably pretty close to a quarter of a cup. Once again, we're changing the color and the dynamics of the chili. Alright, so I need to get this back up to a temperature. Just want to let this simmer here. Make sure it all mixes in well. Back to it. Oop, got water here. Back to a nice simmer. We're going to do about a half hour, and we're going to see you back in just a minute. Alright, so we got everything mixed together. We made sure that all the spices are good and everything is really good. So, next thing I want to do, I want to check the consistency of it. It's pretty nice and thick, but if you look at a lot of recipes, they tell you can put a little maize in here, ground, and I'm always like, why would I want to buy a bag of that to keep in my pantry? More important things to keep in my pantry. So what I do, because I like to save useless things, you know how when you get to the bottom of your bag of Fritos, Tostitos, Doritos, whatever, you got all those little crumbs, I pour them into a plastic Ziploc bag. And guess what? Over the course of months, you get a pretty good amount here. What I do is I put them in, I take the plastic bag, you want to crack open a corner so that it's not completely sealed, I just take my rolling pin. Just make sure that these pieces are nice and small. Doesn't have to be too perfect. It just saves me from buying something else when I get out. Lord knows. Otherwise, I'd throw in, I probably wouldn't even be picky. I could probably tell you that if you save some scraps from potato chips, it would work too. You just need something that's going to fit a little bit of a thickener. So I'll put about half these in. These are going to take a little bit to cook down, soften up, and cook in. It's not like putting like raw thickener in. It also smells good. And it's cheating and adding a little bit of salt, which I don't like to necessarily cook with. But in this case, once again, not a whole lot of salt going in a big, huge batch of chili. I think I figured this out, just about a cup of busted up stuff. It really doesn't matter if they're flavored or not. You can't hurt chili by adding flavor. I know people that put barbecue sauce in just to give it a little kick. So now, believe it or not, I've really changed the consistency. It really is thickening this. Alright, so once again, it's all about patience and time. I'm going to put the lid on. This should be probably the last. I would probably say I'd want to cook it for an hour. Maybe 30 minutes would be enough. You'll be able to tell because the thickening will have occurred. And you can tell because just like anything else, like a stew, is that all the heavy stuff is going to fall to the bottom and you end up with a liquid on top. So what we want to do is make sure that it stays homogenized, everything's mixed together. That's when you know you've got enough thickener in there. And it's not going to be perfect, but it should just have a nice thickness to it because I want it thick enough. Remember, put on hot dogs, I'm going to put it on pasta. There's chopped onions and grated cheese and even sour cream. You can do whatever you want. In a bowl, on a baked potato. Like I said, you can even put them on French fries. But just to have a good base. So I'm going to give this another half an hour and we're going to be back and finish it up. Alright, I'm suspicious that we're ready to rock and roll. Burn my hand on that. So yeah, when I took the lid off, everything's nice and homogenized, mixed together. The other thing is that if you put the pot in the fridge and let it sit overnight, first of all, I think it really helps with the flavors. But second, if you find that there's grease at the top, you can just spoon it off. I'm not a big fan of having a lot of grease in my chili. I can see from this it doesn't look like there's going to be. I don't see a whole lot of, usually get like around the ring, the pot. You can see it. So the thickener really worked. Giving you guys all my trade secrets. But I mean, I got a good chili. And here's the part that some of you love, some of you hate. But I like beans, so I'm going to add some beans. I got 4 cans of dark red kidney beans that I've rinsed. I buy the reduced sodium ones. And you do this kind of as the last step. And yes, this is a ton of chili. I think there's about quarts here. It's a 12-quart pan. So the chili is really hot. Remember, it's always safer if you turn the heat down before you pull the lid off, like I do. Trying to get these beans heated through, and I mean you can cook it still longer once you put the beans in, but I wouldn't cook it down for another hour. That's why you really want it ready before you throw the beans in, because just like anything else, you'd end up making refried beans. And obviously, if you don't like beans, you can leave them out. I understand. Lots of good flavors here. Some beautiful chili. So let's see what it looks like. Nice and thick. It's really only breakfast time, but this is looking good. So that is what a really nice bowl of chili looks like. This is just plain chili. You can eat it this way. You can, like I said, melt a little cheese on there, a little chopped raw onion, sour cream, throw it on some pasta. That's kind of an Ohio thing, right? Everything's cooked in. You got some chunks of the red pepper. I can see everything in here, but you're not going to get a whole lot of funky flavors because everything is so cooked. I mean, this stuff is just like cooked. It's cooked down and that smoky paprika and a little bit of cumin, the chili, the powder, the honey, and all the flavors we put in here just really make this great. So I hope you try it. I want you to subscribe, and by the way, subscriptions are free. People get this idea they got to pay for this. No, it's just subscribing to my account so that you're following me, so that all my videos you get notification of, so you can scan through them, see which ones you like, which ones you don't like, and certainly comment. Tell me what you do differently. I get some interesting comments about people giving advice, and lots of times it's good advice. But the whole point is you need to enjoy. This is all about cooking great food, spending time in the kitchen. This is a family affair. Enjoy it, have fun, and eat good food.